In this position, I just put my opponent in check. They have three main options. They can either run towards the center, they can go back, or they can go over here on the side. In the game, my opponent played the move king to f6, and I have two questions for you. Number one, why did they go here? What is their idea? And number two, how should I respond to this move? Go ahead and think about that. We're going to talk about it as I show you this game. All right, so let's actually jump back to the beginning. I'll show you how we ended up here. This is round number 7 from my OTB tournament. This is the final round. I have 3 out of 6 going into this, and let's take a look at what happened. So I played d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, and bishop f4, the Jobava London. Now, I found out after the game that my opponent actually plays this opening as white and was very familiar with these lines, okay? And so that would explain why during the opening phase, he was playing very quickly. And I really got the sense that he knew exactly what he was doing. And well, that makes sense because he plays this line for white. So, okay, that's interesting. He played c5, I played e4. And he played the main and the best line. Actually, I'll turn the eval bar back on now. He played the main line. You trade the knights first. And then there's an option where you could trade queens. That endgame is relatively equal. I think it's okay for white, though. He decided to go for the queen a5 check line, where you actually grab the pawn. And then I did the same thing. I brought my queen out. You can see there's a fork, and I'm going to grab the pawn on e4. So this is pretty normal stuff. And then he played the move g6, also pretty standard. Basically, black's going to put this bishop here. Usually this bishop goes to f5, and that's kind of the setup that black goes for. I played knight f3. Now, I couldn't remember exactly what the line was. I knew that I had looked at some lines where at some point we dropped this bishop back to e3, and we put the rook on d1 and the knight on f3. I just couldn't remember the order, right? Like I felt like the bishop should go on c4, the rook should go on d1, the bishop should go on e3, and the knight should go to f3, but I wasn't sure the best order. Now, Stockfish agrees with me that this is fine, but I ended up not getting the position I was hoping for. So I played rook d1. I think here I was expecting that he was going to castle, and I would have time to play bishop e3, bishop c4, and get a little bit different position. But he actually played bishop f5 right away. And the reason this caught me off guard is because I thought I was supposed to put my queen over here on h4, but obviously I can't do that with my bishop in the way. So I was kind of taken out of my comfort zone here. I had to bring the queen over here instead, queen a4. Now he castles. And now I brought the bishop back, but it's not exactly the same position. Anyway, he plays queen a5. And I decided to go ahead and develop, get ready to castle. And it looks like we're headed for an endgame. He does make the trade. And he plays bishop to e6, attacking my pawn. Now, this is kind of an annoying move because, of course, I could play a move like a3 to save the pawn. But then I create a weakness here that maybe this knight and bishop can take advantage of. You guys see that? There's a big hole on b3. So I didn't really want to do that unless I had to. b3 to stop the bishop. This way, of course, just loses the pawn. That's a very bad move. And then I could play bishop b3, but then he's going to be able to trade and actually double up my pawns. And now my 3 against 2 pawn majority doesn't look so nice. But I guess the engine says that's actually a fine option. I could have done that. I decided instead to castle and sacrifice this pawn. Now, I had a couple of ideas here. My first idea was that I might be able to trap the bishop, right, with the move b3. Now, it actually gets very tricky here. There's a couple things that we have to think through. Number one, the pawn is hanging, which actually stops me from attacking it right away. In my mind, I thought I could just go rook c1, and then once the bishop, let's just say, moves back, now attack this. Turns out that's not a great solution because knight b4 actually is really good for black. And so I was going to have to think through that a little bit more if I decided to go for that line. But I also noticed there was another move, knight to a5, just attacking the pawn here. But then I was thinking, wait a second, what if I go rook a1 anyway? And check out this line. If he takes, I take, he takes. You guys see what I can play here? Rook a3. It traps the knight. The bishop is cutting off the escape squares. The knight is actually a goner, so I'm going to win a piece. So, it was there were some interesting lines there, but I wasn't sure what was happening with the bishop takes c3. And Stockfish actually says it's not good for me. So I went with my other option, which was rook to d7. So we give up the pawn temporarily, but now it opens up the square for my rook, and my rook is on the 7th rank, which is a very good place for a rook to be, and I'm attacking all these different pawns. So, okay. He goes rook b8, defending this one. And I decided to bring the other rook over, trying to play very aggressively. Now, I knew the bishop was going to come back with the tempo, but I had planned a move against this. So what do you think I played here? Got a chance to look at that. Bishop takes c6. Nice little move there. The idea is if he takes my rook, I take and I actually get a knight and a bishop for a rook, which is very good. I'd be very happy to play this position. And so he's pretty much forced to take back this way. And now I was able to grab this pawn. Now, the reason I grabbed this pawn is because I felt like the A pawn was going to be easy to take later. I'm going to have 3 pieces lined up on it. I just felt like, yeah, that's definitely not going to be defended. If I take the A pawn right away, then this pawn is going to be easier for him to defend. I felt like also, if I took this way, then I'm going to be opening up my back rank. I have to be a little bit careful there. So yeah, I took this way. And I think Stockfish agrees with me that was the best option. He goes rook takes b2. And I played bishop d4. Now, the engine doesn't like it. Yeah, apparently that best move was knight to d4. I was trying to avoid this because knight d4 is just an opposite color bishop ending, which probably nobody's going to be able to win that. And I didn't really want to draw. So that's why I was trying not to make that trade. But apparently black had a really strong move here that they did not play in the game. Rook to a8. So it's defending the pawn one time. And what's the idea if I just take it? They're going to take... I can't take with the rook because of the checkmate. You guys see that? Back rank checkmate. And so I would have to take with the bishop, but that allows them to take here, and I'm actually just losing a pawn. Very interesting move. So yeah, rook a8 would have been the way for black. Okay, they didn't see that. They played rook f b8, which is also trying to take advantage of the back rank, but in a different way. And I had a couple of options here, but I just decided to go with the simple h3. Just give my king an escape square so that there's no longer any back rank mate ideas. They went check anyway. We traded, and my king escapes on h2. Okay. They captured. I took with the knight. They played a5, so they decided to save this outside pass pawn, which actually looks pretty dangerous if you think about it. My king is very far from that, but they allow me now to take this, which I did, and I grabbed this pawn. So it's equal material, 4 pawns against 4 pawns, but we have a very interesting dynamic where black has this passed a pawn. All right, they played rook b6, defending their pawn. Now, this is a very important moment in the game, because if I don't do something quickly, this pawn could be a very big problem. Okay? So there is a principle in rook endings that you want to remember. All right, you ready? Please don't forget this. Rooks go behind passed pawns. So this is a passed pawn. It's a pawn that has no pawns that can stop it from becoming a queen. Behind would be somewhere back here. Okay, this is in front of the pawn. This is behind the pawn. Why do rooks go behind passed pawns? Well, let's just take an example. Let's just say I play a bad move like king g3. Black now is going to be able to play the move rook a6. The rook is behind the passed pawn, and that rook is going to support the pawn all the way down to becoming a queen. It's not going to be in the way. It's perfectly positioned to just support, get a queen. Everything is great. And I'm going to be forced to do something super awkward to bring my rook back here, and my rook's going to be stuck in front of the pawn, and that is not what you want, right? So what did I do in this position? Rook to e8 check with the sole purpose of getting my rook behind the passed pawn, so black cannot get their rook behind the passed pawn. And all the benefits that were good for black are now good for me. I am constantly going to be attacking that pawn every step of the way, making it much more difficult for that pawn to become a queen. Okay? So rooks go behind passed pawns. You have to remember that. So now black has a tough decision. Do they give me the pawn and try to, do something else? Or, what they did in the game, do they try to defend it? Which is what they played. Okay. I played rook a7 check, and I kind of wanted to see, what was black's king going to do? Were they going to come towards the center? Were they going to come over here? Were they going to go back? And the reason I wanted to do this was because I kind of felt like they had to defend this pawn. And if they would have gone back, well, now I've cut off the king from really playing a part in the game, which is fantastic for me. But if they come over here, I was thinking, there's potentially a checkmate net. So, for example, if I were to play the move g4 and black is not paying attention to some random move, and I play h4, and I don't know, black does some random move like this, and I bring my king up, I thought there was a meaning that apparently they can always play g5. But if they let me, this is what I was trying to show you guys. G5 check, there is this checkmate idea. Okay, I guess it's not that easy to pull it off because they just play g5. It doesn't really work. But I was going to think through some options for that, and it could be potentially scary for the black king to be stuck over here if I am able to trap it with my pawns. Okay, so I don't know if that's why my opponent didn't want to go here or if they just had other plans with their king to hunt down my pawn, but they decided to play the move king to f6. Now, this idea of basically sacrificing the pawn to activate the king to come and take a pawn and then, push here makes sense. Like from a logical standpoint, this makes total sense, right? The only question is if you're going to give up one pawn or maybe two pawns, depending on what happens, is it, who's going to win the race, right? This is a common question in rook and pawn endings or king and pawn endings too. Who's going to win the race? If both sides start pushing their pawns, who's going to win? Who's going to be faster and get the queen faster, right? That's what you have to really think about. So I decided to capture the pawn. And the reason I took the pawn is because I wasn't worried about this guy pushing. Because if they push now, guess what? I just go straight back. And again, I'm behind. And again, black has no way to defend the pawn. I just take the pawn next move. So I was totally okay with that. So I'm like, yeah, may as well just take a pawn while I can. Okay. My opponent now plays the move king e5. And now I was like, well, okay. So they're really just going to they don't even care. They're just going all in here on taking this and pushing their pawns down. So what should I do? White to play. All right. So I decided to play the move rook to g7. And my logic was this. If they want to save this pawn, they have to go back with their king. That's the only way. If they do that, then he just wasted some time. He moved here and he moved back. It doesn't really make sense, right? The only other thing is you just abandon it and you come and you try to get this. But then I was like, now it's super dangerous for black. I've got 3 connected passed pawns. There is no way that they're going to be able to stop these pawns. Eventually, I'm going to be able to push them and get a queen. So it's a question of if I can stop these guys and then somehow push this, I might have winning chances, right? That's my logic. So I thought rook g7 was a smart move, and I kind of was expecting the king was actually going to come back at this point. Black decided to go forward. And you could see the eval bar, and it's actually a big mistake. So I captured the pawn. Now, obviously the question is, what's going to happen if this pawn pushes down the board? Well, what do you guys notice? That's correct. If they play a4, I actually have a skewer. Rook g4 check, and I just win the pawn. This is very common in rook endings, guys, where something needs to happen, right? Like in this case, black needs to push a pawn and get a queen, but there's a little tactic or a little idea that prevents it. And if you notice those little ideas, that can win you the game, right? And that's why I noticed I could just take this because he can't even push it, right? He can't even push it. The other thing that I noticed is I'm also threatening this pawn. So like if the king just, keeps running, well, I'm going to take another pawn and I could still get behind the pawn in all these cases. So I actually wasn't worried that black was going to, be able to get a queen. So my opponent plays rook c5, defending their pawn and threatening to take mine. Now, what is the big worry in my position? This pawn, right? I have to make sure that I'm paying attention to this pawn. But remember, the king is still on e4, which means if the pawn pushes, I still have the same skewer. So with that in mind, I played h4. You have to push your passed pawns to win endgames. So I'm like, now's the time. I got to push it. I played king d3. And what do you notice? That is correct. I no longer have that tactic. So now I have to think carefully, do I have to be concerned with this? And here I think I played a really nice move. If you would like to pause, white to play, what do you think I played? All right, so the move that I played was rook to g5. And the reason it's a nice move is because it's causing an awkward problem for black. Obviously, the rook is under attack, so you can't just push your pawn. I'm just going to take the rook for free. If you take me, the problem is I now take here. If you don't know, there's a trick you can do. You make a box with a pawn like this. If the king can't step into the box, which it cannot, then he can't catch my pawn, right? So I'm going to be able to get a queen. And we could have a race, but I'm going to push. I'm going to push. I'm going to push. And yes, black does get a queen, but I was like, this must be winning for me. I have 2 connected pawns here, and I get to strike first with my queen. For example, something like check. The king has to move somewhere, and then I get another pawn. I'm like, this has got to be a win. I'm going to be able to shelter my king from the queen. I wasn't concerned about this at all. So let's just recap. You can't push your pawn. I'll just take the rook. You can't take me because I'm going to win the race. You could try to defend, but then again, I noticed I could just trade, and guess what? I'm going to win the race. Here we go. Here we go. And it's the same kind of story, right? Yes, we both get queens, but I get to strike first, and I can do like, I don't know, queen d4 check, and this is a great position for me. I have the extra pawns. I'm going to win. So black doesn't have a lot of options because you don't want to move your rook away because you lose your pawn, right? So they try rook c4. And what else are they going to play? They try rook c4, basically saying, look, you take my pawn, I'll take your pawn with check. Now, just so we're clear, I could have taken the pawn, and this would have been a win. Okay, this would have been a win because I have these two connected pawns, which are still going to be enough to win. This is, pretty equal over here, and black's not in a great position to push this. This is going to be a win for me. However, I was like, I don't even think I need to give up this pawn. I like this pawn. This pawn is very close to becoming a queen here without the king being able to stop it. So I played the move king h3, just defending. Now, the logical question should be, but Nelson, are you going to be able to stop the pawn? So it's white to play. What do you guys think should happen here? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, I went ahead and pushed the pawn. And the reason is because I'm not worried about this because remember, rook's behind passed pawns. Again, I'm behind the passed pawn. And what is black going to play? Well, you have to defend the pawn, I guess. But now I'm just going to push. I'm 2 spaces away. And black can't even push their pawn. The rook is just defending it here, but you can't push it, right? Because my rook is behind. And it's going to take them like 1, 2, 3, 4 moves. And it's only going to take me 2 moves to get a queen, right? You can see the issue. Now, of course, this is a check, but I can just easily block. It doesn't really matter. So black decided to play the move c5, cutting off my rook from going over here. What did I play? All right, if you had a chance to look at that. So I decided I could have gone for the pawn race, but this is not so clear. I mean, yes, it's probably definitely better for me, but now there's a rook and a queen that I have to worry about, and the black king might be able to somehow like hide, and like I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Not when I have something better. So the move that I played was rook g8. And remember, you should be knowing this by now. Why am I going there? To go behind the passed pawn. It's the same thing. You get the rook behind the passed pawn. Like, what are they going to do? It is very difficult for the pawns to push forward, right? And so they played a3. I played rook a8. It's that simple. What are they going to do? He played rook takes c3, defending the pawn. And that's correct. Push my pawn. I'm just going to get a queen in 2 moves. Black has no way to stop it. Meanwhile, I have an easy way to stop their pawn. So he tried check. And I was actually thinking about what I was going to do, probably just f3. I was just making sure there was no tricks. Like I wanted to be careful, not blunder something at the end. And my opponent actually resigned here because, they were just realizing too, like, after I play f3 check, the king moves somewhere. I'm just going to play h7 and get a queen, and black has no... You can't do anything. I mean, you can't push it. I just take it. You can't really attack my king. Here, I can just move and to stop you from coming over. Like, it's just over. So, I won this game. I ended up with 4 out of 7. I'll show you the game review really quickly here. Game review for this one. I played a nice game. So it feels good to finish, the tournament with a solid game after the awful games, previously in the tournament. Like, yeah, just good to like not beat myself for one game and actually just play a nice game, So, yeah, I mean, overall, it was an interesting tournament, right? Like I had some really nice games, also had some really awful games. And of course, as I try to get better and improve, consistency is a big deal, right? Like that's one of the things that separates the very top level from people who are pretty good, but not at the top, right? The top level, they're just consistent. They don't really have bad games. And so that's definitely something I need to work on. Now, I was experimenting with all kinds of different openings, so that's something that's going to get ironed out over time. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think it was an okay tournament. I'd be curious what you guys think, right? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. You learned something. Don't forget rooks behind passed pawns. Super important principle. It shows up in a lot of different cases in rook endings. Very, very good to know that one. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video.